This is about our 3-day trip on the Mojave Road. We'd be making the trip in a 1966 Ford Bronco and a 2006 Jeep Rubicon. The first part of our trip would take us from San Diego, California to Laughlin, Nevada, where the Mojave Road starts. None of us had ever made this trip before, so we were all looking forward to it. Okay, Friday, January 6, 2017. This is the wild crew right here, heading out. Ooh, yeah. You start to get an idea of what you're in for when you realize that the drive across the Mojave Desert from Barstow, California to Laughlin, Nevada only takes about 3 hours. But the drive from Laughlin back to Barstow on the Mojave Road will take nearly 3 days. The next morning we headed out. Our plans for the first day were to visit Fort Paiute and any other interesting landmarks along the way. We planned to camp for the night somewhere about a quarter of the way along the route. This is Dave airing down his 66 Broncos tires. It's pretty manly looking tires too, I gotta admit. The Mojave Road, also known as Government Road, is about 135 miles long, and the actual starting point, mile 0, is alongside the Colorado River near the Ave Resort and Casino. We decided to start our trip from the Needles Highway, which is only a short distance from mile 0. There were several dirt roads that crossed paths with the Mojave Road, and initially we didn't see any markings telling us which one to take. About half a mile later, the path we chose led us to this, a very steep hill that would require 4-wheel drive. That surprised me because everything I had read said most of the Mojave Road could be driven with 2-wheel drive.
I found another town back down here almost a half a mile.
We're sitting at a 45-degree angle here. You found another road?
Affirmative.
Okay, we're coming back down.
We'd missed the road marker known as a cairn that would have kept us on the right path, but once we were back on course we had no more problems. Stone markers known as cairns have been placed along the Mojave Road by a volunteer group called the Friends of the Mojave. These markers were very helpful for confirming that we were on the right path throughout our trip. We were grateful to the Friends of the Mojave for all the work they did. I thought this would be a good place to launch my drone to get some video of us driving across the isolated desert. A few minutes after taking off, however, the drone started making uncommanded movements and flew off on its own. It took several minutes to regain control, but by then the battery was so low that I had to use the drone's auto land feature. It landed somewhere in the desert, but we were unable to find it. I returned to the area 4 days later and found it, undamaged. This section of road near Fort Paiute was definitely one of the roughest sections of road we encountered. Airing your tires down would really help smooth the ride.
I don't know what everybody's complaining about. This is an awesome road.
Still better than I-5.
Fort Paiute has an interesting history, and you can learn a lot about it online. It's also a great place to stop for lunch and look back on where you've just driven.
Alright, we're on the bypass because the main road is washed out. We're trying to find our way around on the detour.
If this is the last time we talk to you.
Navigating the Mojave Road isn't very difficult, but you do have to pay attention, and it helps to have a recent map of the area. In addition to the roadside cairns, you'll occasionally see road markers along the route, even some that identify the Mojave Road. Several people online have recommended not using a GPS to navigate the Mojave Road, but we found our GPS to be very helpful after downloading and installing some waypoints for the route.
Laser mine or no? I don't know. Because it looks like it was up. Jesus Christ.
Sorry about that.
Other than this healthy-looking coyote and some rabbits, we didn't see a lot of wildlife on our trip. But then again, we weren't really looking for it either. It had rained quite a bit the previous few days, and we were somewhat concerned about being able to complete the trip. The Mojave Road isn't a difficult off-road challenge, but you do have to pay attention to the conditions because it doesn't take much rain to wash out a road in the desert.
Oh, there's the bus.
There's the bus.
My school bus is up ahead on the right.
Want to stop and take a picture with it?
Absolutely.
Of course.
There's an engine block on this side.
No one knows how long this school bus has been here, and in any other place it would have been taken to a junkyard years ago. But it really does have landmark status on the Mojave Road. It's been heavily vandalized over the years, but even so, people are asked to leave it as it is.
You might have a little issue with the narrowness with your motorhome on this one.
It was time to find a place to camp for the night, so we started looking for an established campsite. A few minutes later, we came across this site, known as Penny Can Tree, another landmark on the Mojave Road. We're putting the pennies in the penny can here along the road.
Now we're taking them and we're going back to the casino.
To heck with that, there was a quarter in there.
And here we are, here's our campground. We're camped over by Goff's VOR in the middle of nowhere. Dave's cot does not fit in his tent. This turned out to be a great place to stop for the night, and the weather that evening was beautiful. It wouldn't stay that way, however, and the forecast had said the temps were only supposed to get down to the low 50s. Okay, here we are the next morning. It's 37 degrees outside. Woohoo! Man, it was cold last night. Poured rain on us. But it felt good. It's beautiful out here this morning. Ed made us a delicious breakfast that morning, and after packing up and taking care of business, everyone was ready to go. Almost everyone. Today we plan to cover a lot of ground, stopping only to see some of the more famous landmarks. We'd look for a campsite near Soda Lake, a usually dry lake bed. We hope to cross Soda Lake the next morning if it was dry enough.
Home sweet home, welcome.
Other than mud and rain that would later cause us to change our plans, this was the most difficult off-road challenge we faced. It wasn't difficult by off-road standards, but even so, Bonnie decided that it was too risky to take their classic 66 Bronco on, due to its low ground clearance. They took a nearby bypass and met up with us a short time later. Another famous landmark is Bert Smith's Rock House. In later years, it would be occupied by Western artist Carl Faber. While you can't go inside, you can look through the windows and see the excellent restoration job done by the National Park Service. Okay, we're coming up on Government Holes here, the famous windmill out in the middle of nowhere. As you approach the Kelso-Sema Road, you end up on a county-maintained road, and as you look west from the Kelso-Sema Road, you can see just how isolated the Mojave Road is. We stopped for lunch at an abandoned mine and were surprised to learn that we actually had cell service, even though we were several miles west of the Kelso-Sema Road. Our next stop would be another famous landmark, the Mojave Mailbox.
Pull close enough, Kevin. I'll see if we have any mail.
Okay, yeah. After Ed and Dave demonstrated how spending 3 years in first grade really paid off, we all took turns signing the logbook.
We also found it pretty neat how clean and well maintained the American flags were. Someone puts a lot of effort into maintaining this isolated landmark. All right, we're headed to the lava tubes now. That's about a 3.3 mile turnoff detour off the main road, the Mojave Trail. Needless to say, the roads are full of lava rocks. It's a pretty rough road, even though it is nice and wide. We're at Lava Tube Trail here, the trail entrance where you have to go from your vehicles in the parking lot up to the lava tubes themselves. You can actually get down inside the lava tubes without much effort, and learning about how they were formed was pretty interesting. I also thought this was interesting, the end of the lava flow. Our next goal was to find a place near Soda Lake to camp for the night. We wanted to get an early start the next day crossing the dry lake bed because more rain was forecast for later in the day. Soda Lake can become impassable with too much rain. Here's our campground for tonight. We are on the east side of Soda Lake, a supposedly dry lake bed that we have to cross tomorrow if we can, but we don't know if we can because we've had so much rain lately. It might be too wet to get across. We'll have to go around it somehow. We considered trying to cross Soda Lake today, but we'd been driving all day and we were ready to take a break. It was a beautiful evening. All right, well, we woke up to a rain this morning and the wind's picking up, so we're going to have to split before the road gets impassable. That was a quick pack up, but it's just raining too hard. We decided that it would be too risky to try and cross Soda Lake. There was just too much rain.
Sissies.
Yeah, Ed wants to go, so he's walking on his own after he makes our coffee. It's a huge lake bed, and I doubt that any tow truck would risk getting stuck trying to pull us out. Instead, our plan was to take a side road that went around the east side of Soda Lake and connected to Kelbaker Road. Then it was freeway all the way home.
Cross, keep your speed up.
This was a great trip. If you're considering doing it yourself, I highly recommend it. Plan ahead, make sure your vehicle's in good condition, and remember, it's a national preserve, so please take care of it.